This is the Arc Ultra and this is the Sub 4, the latest soundbar subwoofer package from Sonos. And I have to say, I've spent a couple of weeks with this, and this is the best sounding soundbar I have heard in this house, okay? I'm really impressed by it. So it's got great detail at the high end and mid range and in the bass. But once you add in this subwoofer, you have a nice package for both movies and music, and you've got the whole Sonos experience. So that means that if you have multiple Sonos products in your home, you can play music in your entire home, or just with this package or different groups, you can do a lot of stuff with it. But let's talk about my experience with the new Arc Ultra and the Sub 4. So I'm mainly going to be talking about the Arc Ultra in this review. It's got some new technology, including a new woofer technology called Sound Motion that actually works. I was actually pretty impressed by the bass from this, but I don't want to gloss over the Sub 4. This is new as well. As you can see, this is a matte surface finish. The previous generation was glossy, and glossy looks fantastic. I like the way glossy looks, but you know, it collects dust and fingerprints and stuff like that. So it's nice to see a matte surface finish on this subwoofer generation, but it comes in black like I have here and white also. So whichever decor you have, you can find one that matches. This also has a new processor built in that's faster and allows for a much more stable connection to all of the Sonos gear, including the Era 100s, the Arc Ultra, the Beam generations, basically all of the Sonos gear that they sell right now, which is a good thing. As you can see, it has the same design with the dual opposing drivers in here to cancel out any vibration, so you have a nice stable cabinet. You can sit it up like this, or you can lay it down on the floor and still get nice bass. It will play down to 30 hertz, so that's a good thing. And so you can get nice deep bass out of the subwoofer with the soundbar combination. And quite frankly, I think this is the best combination to get. But if you want to hear this or anything else, go to Worldwide Stereo. They have all the Sonos gear that we could want. I'll drop some links in the description below so you can check them out. But if you are in the Pennsylvania area, definitely check them out because Worldwide Stereo will hook you up. So one of the first things that you notice about the Arc Ultra is its length. It's actually pretty long. It's nearly 47 inches long, but it's not super tall or super deep, so it's actually pretty compact. You just need to make sure that you have a surface to sit on that's long enough, or you can mount it to the wall because they do sell a wall mount for this particular soundbar. But one of the benefits of this soundbar is that you can put the left and right speakers much further apart than you can with a much more compact soundbar, so you get a wider sweet spot when you're listening to music. And if you happen to move over a seat, you don't really lose that stereo image because the speakers are farther apart. So that's a good thing. They also have a nice strong center channel speaker right here in the center of the soundbar so that you can hear movie soundtrack. Because one of the complaints that people had with the original Arc was they said they just couldn't quite hear the dialogue from the soundbar. Well, I went ahead and I sat down with some Christopher Nolan movies like Interstellar, The Dark Knight, and several others, and I started watching them just to see if I missed any dialogue due to the effects happening inside the movie. And with Interstellar, I think it's chapter 9 when they're landing on the water planet, I could hear the actors' voices, so I didn't have any issues hearing dialogue with this soundbar. But they do include a speech enhancement feature in the app that you can turn on, but you can also change the level from low, medium to high and increase or decrease that enhancement so you can really dial in how you want to hear the dialogue with the movies. It also has surround left and surround right speakers at the end of the soundbar, pushing that surround sound out away from the soundbar so that you can have a surround effect at your main listening position. But I will say, to have a much better surround sound effect, you should probably add a pair of speakers like the Era 100s or the Era 300s just behind you so that you can have physical speakers there. But this particular soundbar can also decode a Dolby Atmos signal, so it can do object-based formats in space like that. And I do it like this because this speaker does have Dolby Atmos drivers in it as well. They're upward firing, so they will fire up to your ceiling and then reflect back down onto your listening position so that you can get the effect of planes flying overhead. But if you want to increase that effect, I would say add the Era 300s because they have upward firing drivers in them as well. So then you'll have upward firing drivers coming from the front, but also from your side or from your rear, firing back down on your main listening position. But the star of the show is their new woofer design. They call it Sound Motion Technology. And what they've done is they've added a woofer system in that is smaller and more compact, but it plays deeper and with more detail than what they've had previously on their other soundbars and maybe even speakers. And it actually works. That is what is so cool. And when you have a nice detailed bass performance, that allows all the other frequencies to shine. And what I noticed with this soundbar is at the high end, you get nice clarity. At the mid range, you get that punch that you want. And at the bottom end with the bass, you also get that low end bass, including basically all the way down to 40 hertz. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to play a 40 hertz tone for you on the Arc, but I'm going to compare it to my own Sonos Beam. This is the Beam Generation 1. It's got the older technology in it. And what I found here is with a 40 hertz tone, you can hear it on the Ultra, but you can't hear it on the Beam. I'm going to play it at 80% volume, and I'm going to switch from the Ultra to the Beam. So let's just go ahead, let's hit the start on that, and let's play this 40 hertz tone.
40 hertz.
That's the Arc. Now I'm going to move over and play the same thing at the same volume on the Beam. I can hear it a little bit, but it's not nearly as pronounced as it is on the Arc. So I'll go back, switch over to the Arc, and let you hear that one more time. Look at that. That's a 40 hertz tone. A 40 hertz tone on the Beam. So, or on the Arc rather. So that is what the Sound Motion technology does, is it allows you to play deeper. And what they've done is they've been able to make a much, I would say, better sounding overall soundbar with this new technology. I compared the Arc Ultra to my own Beam. And the first thing I'll say is the Beam Generation 1 sounds good. I'm actually really impressed by how well it compares to the Arc Ultra. But the Arc Ultra sounds better in basically every facet. It's got better, more clear high end. It's got a much more punchy mid-range, and it's got obviously better bass and bass detail. I was listening to the soundtrack from Dune, the original movie, Dune 1. Well, I shouldn't say the original movie, but Dune from just a few years ago, not the Dune Part 2. And there's that point in the soundtrack where they've got the thump thump, thump thump, thump thump in there, and you can hear it being played on the Arc Ultra. No sub, just the Arc Ultra. And the Beam couldn't even play it. You couldn't hear it at all from the Beam. And that's what I found just so impressive, is the Arc Ultra can just play notes with this new technology that the Beam can't. But if you want the ultimate experience, definitely add the Sub 4, because the Sub 4 can easily play down to, I don't know, about 25 hertz or so is what they say. And I was able to get it to 30 hertz, an audible 30 hertz. And so it all works together, and you just get such a nice presentation with the Arc Ultra and the Sub 4. Whether it be movies or music, you get a great presentation. The Ultra does feature touch-sensitive controls along the back so that you can control it. There's a play pause, skip forward, skip back. There's also volume control over there. So if I hit the play button here, you can hear the music playing. I can turn it up, I can turn it down, and I can pause it right there if I want. But there's also a voice assistant. You can use Amazon's assistant, but they also have a Sonos-based assistant. So if I say, hey Sonos, play some music, she responds and plays music. But I can say, hey Sonos, stop, and it stops just like that. But this will have to be set up inside the app to get the voice control to work. And if you don't want to set it up, you don't have to. But if you want it set up, but you don't always want the microphone listening, there is a hardware button back here that you can just flip, and it shuts off the microphone anytime you want to. So that is a nice feature to have as well. Another cool feature of the Arc Ultra and a few other Sonos soundbars, to be honest, is called TV Audio Swap. And what it allows you to do is take a pair of Sonos Ace headphones and swap the audio playing on your television onto these. So if you're watching late at night and maybe your spouse has gone to bed and you don't want to disturb them, so you want to put on a pair of headphones, you can actually do it. And the cool thing is it works. All you have to do is make sure that your headphones are connected to the same Wi-Fi through your phone as your Sonos soundbar. And you do need to enable Wi-Fi on the soundbar. But right now I've got Jurassic Park playing, so I'm just going to start playing that on the soundbar. Then I'm just going to quickly push this button here and you're going to be able to hear it playing over the headphones. Swapping. Now it's playing in the headphones. And then back there on the soundbar. And that's just how easy it is. You can also go into the software, or into the app rather, and hit swap here in the app and it will do the same thing. But it's cool because there's just a hardware button right here on the headphones, so you can go back and forth. And I haven't noticed any audio delay or any lip sync issues or anything like that. So quite frankly, it works. So I've talked to you a lot about my experience, but I haven't talked about the app or the setup process. Now, you have to use the new app to set this stuff up, and I did, and I didn't have any issues whatsoever with either one, setup or just using it in general. Now, I have had issues with my Sonos Beam and the new app, so I understand the issues, but with this particular, these two pieces of gear didn't have any issues whatsoever. To set things up, I just plugged in power, an Ethernet cable, and an HDMI cable to my television with the Ultra. I clicked add in the app, and the setup process went through fine. For the sub, I plugged in power and an Ethernet cable, and I think I had to push this button or an NFC pair, and everything worked there as well. Now, I could have added everything over Wi-Fi and not Ethernet, but since I had the cables and I was close to an Ethernet router, I went ahead and did that route. So that was just something that I wanted to do, but either one works. Now, inside the app, I paired these together. I did the True Play tuning, which basically uses your phone as a microphone to understand the acoustic environment, and then it tunes the soundbar and subwoofer just so you get a better overall experience at your main listening position. That worked as well. And then I was able to listen to music and watch TV and movies and just enjoy myself. Now, one of the things that a lot of people like about the Sonos experience is that when you have multiple speakers in multiple rooms, you can play the same music on all the speakers or different groups, or you can play different music if you want. And again, I was able to do that with the Arc Ultra and my Beam, and again, everything worked. So I don't have any issues with the new app with this particular setup. I understand there are issues, but I didn't have any with this setup. All right, so some of you may be asking, that's all great, but what are the downsides? Well, the first one that I think about is, again, the soundbar length. I like the fact that they separate out the left and the right channel so you get better stereo imaging, but again, it is pretty long, so you will need a longer table. Sonos recommends TVs 50 inches or greater to put this under, so just so you know that. But otherwise, I think it's fine as long as you, again, have the space for it. The other downside, in my opinion, is the Sonos app is good. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but there have been issues with it. And there still isn't, let's say, a 20 band EQ, so you can really EQ things. You can do a little bit of treble, a little bit of bass, but again, it's not fully customizable, okay? You can't choose which speakers are playing here or not. It just kind of plays what it plays. And speaking of that, this also does not support DTS, like DTS:X. It supports Dolby, Dolby Digital, Dolby Atmos, but it doesn't support DTS surround formats. So if that is something that you use, you can't get that out of this soundbar. Now, the price at $999 is not inexpensive, obviously, but what you are getting is you're getting a well-built, well-designed soundbar that actually sounds good in pretty much all the frequency range. Yes, a subwoofer does help at the bottom end, but this does have decent bass for a soundbar of its size, okay? You can get bigger soundbars that, play deeper and all of that, but for its size, this actually does a really good job. And you're getting the Sonos ecosystem of having, if you have multiple Sonos speakers at your home, again, this can be a part of that set. So you get a lot for that $999, and quite frankly, I don't have any issues recommending this. But for me personally, I would definitely get this and the subwoofer to really give me that movie theater bass. All right, so let's talk about buying decisions for a second. Should you upgrade to this from, let's say, a Ray or a Beam? If you have the money, I would say yes. Okay. This is a much better experience sonically than both of those. Okay. It really is. It's a wider soundstage. It's bigger. It's playing that Dolby Atmos. You've got dedicated Atmos speakers here versus the virtual Atmos speakers that they use on the latest Beam 2nd generation. So yes, I think this is a nice upgrade from the Beam. Now, if you have an ARC, the original ARC, would I upgrade from the ARC to this? If you're happy with your ARC, I probably wouldn't upgrade. I'm going to be honest with you. Until it's time to upgrade, that goes out or something like that, that's when I'd upgrade. But if you're happy with it, don't worry about it. But if you're unhappy with it, like you can't hear dialogue or something like that, and you have the money, then yeah, go ahead and upgrade to the Ultra. You'll have an even better experience. Now, if you're in the store and you're thinking to yourself, should I buy the ARC or should I buy the Ultra? Normally the price difference is $100, and for $100, I would say yes, go ahead and buy the Ultra, because number one, you're going to get software upgrades and just updates to this for a few years longer than the ARC is probably going to be supported, because this is newer. I think the ARC has been around for like 3 or 4 years now. So that's the first thing, just longevity. And the second thing is you're getting a better bass performance and probably better dialogue out of this as well. And to me, both of those things are worth the $100 price difference. So for me, I would definitely buy this if you're thinking about upgrading from a Beam or Ray and you have the space for it. Or if you're thinking about the ARC or the ARC Ultra, I would get this. But if you are a current ARC owner, you can think about it. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily just jump on this one. But if you want to purchase this, the subwoofer, or anything else from Sonos, use those links in the description below. Thank you, Worldwide Stereo, for sending me this. I'll talk to you guys next time.